so tell me, can you paint a picture for me of when your first period was? Like, how old were you? Where were you? Who was around you? Yeah, tell me the story.
Oh yeah, I remember very well. I was 12 years old, and it was a week before we had this. I don't know how you call it in English, but it's like a celebration. Um, that like a transition celebration when you go from being a young child and you go to into adolescence.
Mm-hmm.
You also have it when you go from being a toddler to the first grade. It's also something similar like that. So it was a week before that,
Mm-hmm.
and I was at home. My mother was working, and only my father was around and my brother. So there was only masculine energy in the house.
Yeah.
And yeah, my father called my mother like, "What do I need to do?" And my mother was like, give her a tampon or give her something to like. So he tried to be mindful, and he gave me a painkiller because I was in so much pain in that moment. But for the rest, I don't remember that much anymore. I remember what was going around me and who was with me, but I don't remember that much how I was feeling in that moment. But
Mm-hmm.
I was quite well prepared. My mother raised me from a very young age with how the world works and how the body works and how the womb works. Like I knew from a very young age that babies come from sex and not from, how do you call it, like a bird that drops. You
Yeah.
understand? So I had this already like very realistic knowledge of what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't afraid. It was not like nobody told me what was going to happen. Um, yeah, I think my first experience was quite okay because I was at home and I was laying in my own bed. That I do remember.
Mm-hmm.
And my bed was always a bit my safe space. And I think that is something like a tradition or a ritual that I always keep with me, that if I'm on my menstrual phase, that I like to be in my bed, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the whole day, but like for more periods of time than I would do usually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a bit of story. Yeah.
And so you said that your dad was there. When your mum came home, what did she say to you? Can you remember?
No, that is something that I don't remember anymore. No, but I did remember it was like the most normal thing in the world that happened. It was not like something that I could talk to about this at all times. That I do remember, but that day itself, when she got home, no, I don't remember so much of that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, seems like ages ago, actually.
Yeah. And then growing up, what was your relationship like and your communication like with your mum around your period?
Hmm. Huh. I have to say, I've always had like a good communication with my mother. Like I could tell her everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember specifically that around my period that I shared more. I think recently I shared with her that I'm now focusing more on the awareness of the different phases of the menstrual cycle, and that she herself said like, like I know this, but I haven't had this focus on talking about these things or bringing awareness to those things. So I don't remember her sharing about the four phases of the cycle, but I do remember if I felt sad or emotional, I could always come to her. She was always very good at comforting me when I had my period. But again, it's like very vague
Mm-hmm.
if I try to look back into the past. But I think it's because there was a lot of things going on in the house
Mm-hmm.
always. So when it came to me, it's only the last couple of years that I'm really focusing on what do I need at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
And up until a few years ago, I wasn't that present actually with those things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was just you and your, how many brothers do you have?
3.
3 brothers. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happened with them? Did they know when you were on your period? Was it open or no? Was it like just kept to
No.
yourself?
No, the thing is that one of my brothers is mentally disabled, so he has like the mental age of somebody of 2, and he still has, and he's like 2 years younger than me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then another older brother of mine is bipolar and manic depressant. So there was a lot of attention going more to them. And my mother did her best to always give me attention as well. But if I look back, there was always more awareness towards them, because they had a bigger time being challenged in life.
Yeah.
Of course, I had my challenges as well, but like I dissociated many of the times actually. And you only know afterwards when you look back and you're like, oh, and there I wasn't aware of myself, and there I just stuffed it away. So on the surface, I think I've looked always a bit the same in the sense of engaging with life and just trying to manage.
Yeah.
But there wasn't like really a focus on me being a girl or a woman and all the things that come with that. Yeah.
And did you know when your mum was on her period when you were growing up?
No, actually, I don't. I do remember her when she went into menopause. That was really something that I could witness. But when she was on her period, no, my mother always seemed like always high energy. Like every month, every year, there was like, and she's still a bit like that, like very, don't want to say high performance, but it didn't seem like she had her, like I experienced, like highs and lows. Yeah.
Yeah, and so just going on with that thought there, so did you ever see her, so you just said you only saw her high, so you didn't see her do nice things for herself, like take that time out, take that rest, whatever that meant to her? No.
Never.
Well, she probably had her 2 boys probably really needed her attention.
Well, it was a bit of a complicated situation because I have one brother that is from my own mother and father, and then the 2 other brothers are half brothers. So it was like a bit of a mixed situation. And yeah, I don't know if I told you this in the first conversation, but my father was quite abusive and was an alcoholic. So you couldn't count on him for anything. So my mother really had to like work from the morning until the evening, and when she got home, prepare food, and she was like always busy trying to hold the whole family. So time for herself, no. Like once a year we took a little trip, just her and me, like 3-day stops to go into nature, to go on walks. But that is, as far as I can remember, the only time she took for herself. Yeah.
And how do you think that's reflected on you as you've grown up, her busyness?
Oh, tremendously. Yeah, for me, she was like superwoman, and she was like, I put her on a pedestal. Like, I need to be like her, like managing everything until, yeah, I totally collapsed when I was 25, trying to maintain that. And I relapsed a couple of times in those years afterwards. And it took me a while to see. And especially the last 2 years, I've been really starting to see that my energetic blueprint is completely different than my mother. Also learning about my astrology and human design, I saw we were completely different. And so now I'm so mindful of taking time for myself, of taking it easy, like having a completely different lifestyle and being okay with it.
Yeah.
Because it took me a while to be okay with it, like not feeling any guilt or the thoughts of you should be doing this or you should be acting like that.
Mm.
And I'm feeling there's a softening into that. Sometimes it splurges up, but not a lot anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done the work. You're really listening to your inner voice. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And if we go back to your when you got your period and in your teenage years and then into your early 20s, how do you think with your beginning with your period and then shaped your journey with your period from your mum? Like you said you were prepared, but there wasn't that, you can't remember many conversations and you didn't know when she was on her period. How do you think that shaped your journey with your period as you grew up?
I think because there wasn't much shared about it, it was just something like, oh, this just happens once a month.
Mhm.
And I didn't like bother to look into it deeper. It just seemed something, oh, this is pure biology. There's nothing more to it.
Yeah.
It was a bit like that.
Mhm.
Because I remember she had this book that was really beautiful. I was always watching it, and it was about how babies develop in the belly, but also about the menstrual cycle, but a bit more scientific, just how the mechanics are.
Yeah.
And I found that very fascinating to know. But of course, it's only up until like now, the last couple of years, because of my own journey and health issues, that I started to see, oh, whoa, there's so much more behind it.
Mm.
But when I was in my teenager years, I do remember that towards things like birth control, I started trying to go on the pill.
Okay.
I took that for 6 months, and luckily, when I look back, I see I had a very aware sense of feeling my body because I didn't want it. I really felt after 6 months, I need to stop this. This is not good for my body.
Mm.
And when I was 18, I tried to copper spiral. And so I maintained that for many, many years, not knowing that it would do any damage to me, because gynecologists don't talk about what potentially could happen. And at one time, I also tried the hormone spiral, but wow, I also removed that after 8 months because very weird side effects.
Mm.
So I think there was already some sort of natural awareness about the fact of hormones. I don't want it in my body, it doesn't feel right. And I think I chose the copper spiral because it was the less of two evils. Because at that moment, I didn't know about period tracking. I didn't know how you could measure your temperature, all of those things. Even though I knew it was also not good for my body, but I needed something to do birth control.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And with your father being there when you got your period, how do you think that shaped you? I know that might not have, I don't know. How do you think that, like, what happened there with him, like having to deal with you, and like, what was his attitude towards you, and how do you think that shaped you as well?
I saw the discomfort in him.
Oh, okay.
And not knowing what to do, and calling my mother, which I was happy that he did. I mean, that was the best thing that he could do, call another woman.
Yeah.
So, and it's actually nice to go back to that moment because I mainly have not such nice memories of him. And it's not that it was that of a nice memory, but I do feel he did the best he could with the knowledge he had about women. I think there are many men at his age that are completely clueless of, they know probably the mechanics of how the cycle works, but they don't have any idea on what the emotional and the mental effects are of the cycle in the daily habits of a woman. Yeah, I have the feeling that it's only like if I see the man in my life, like my partner, I see has a bit of awareness already, like more than other men in the past. But I feel there's a lot of room for growth still. And I feel I'm quite grateful for that moment with my father that, yeah, even though the connection was not that great, that when it mattered in that moment, he was still there. It was like this biological thing in him, I think, that emerged, that he knew, okay, this is an important moment. I need to be here.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So he played that protector role for his daughter.
Yeah.
With everything else going on, he showed up for you in that moment. Yeah. That's good. I got goosebumps. Oh.
Yeah, me too. It makes me a bit emotional because I haven't thought about that moment in such a long while.
Yeah. I know. I'm sorry. These questions may bring up some emotions, especially over the next couple of days, but they're so important to express. If you're willing to, talk to me.
Oh, I'm definitely willing to talk about, because this, I feel, is it confirmed my belly feeling that today I needed to reach out to you. Like, felt there was something there that needs to be like pulled out of me, that I wasn't aware to look into, that mirror of a memory.
Yeah. And if we define femininity as, some words that pop up to me are like caring, nurturing, creative, intuitive, cooperative, flowing. Do you feel that you're in touch with your feminine side?
Yeah. And I do feel it's like an onion layer that just keeps on peeling and peeling, getting more to the core of it. I think the thing that I notice still the most is what gets in the way is sometimes my perfectionistic self that wants to come in between in how things flow. But I'm also holding that with love, because I know if I try to go against it too much, resist it too much, I also go against the part of myself that is also beautiful, that also is a gift. But if I feed it too much, then it takes over complete control, and it tries to manipulate the moment. So I'm seeing the balance in that more and more. And one example of that was this weekend, because it was actually not in the beginning my task to take on a leadership role, but eventually it played out that way, because the person, the how do you call it, the witness of the bride, normally they arrange everything and organize everything, but like a month ago I felt my belly feeling, I need to reach out to her. And I said to her, I have the feeling that you're not feeling well for the moment. And she's like, yeah, I'm just like overwhelmed with my studies. I have too much to do. And I was like, would you like me to help? And she's like, yes, please. So I started guiding the Zoom meetings and trying to delegate. And then this weekend, I really felt how I was holding the whole container. And there was this almost urge, like things were going a bit of a different way. Sometimes I had the feeling there was not enough attention to the bride to be. And I was like, ooh, there was something coming up, like. And then I stayed with myself, like, okay, how can I hold myself in feeling that and make myself available in the flow of the moment, while also tending to this beautiful side that I have, that I know I can lead a group and hold a group without going into controllership, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because I know that part is sometimes the blockage that I put for myself for my feminine flow. Yeah.
It's so amazing that you can really step back and reflect on your behaviors and go into that feeling and be in touch with that and see how you're acting, because you're just going to grow from that, being in those experiences and situations and doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think also what helps is if I look at all the women in my life, then I'm so very grateful, because there's also this openness to communicate about these things. Like I shared it also in the weekend, that I have a bit of a fear of my own leadership, that it could be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very nice to just be able to say that to them and to feel the feedback of like, no, yes, you're present and you're holding the space and but you're directing it with a very high level of compassion. And that touched me very deeply, because I know in the past I could go overboard. And so it's very beautiful to hear, like, okay, this quality, it's still there. It's not going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel I've come at a time that it's softer, that the feminine flow is much more there than it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I was still a teacher.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. What was your turning point around when you were 28, 29, 30? Did you have a major life transformation or anything like that, or turning point, or put you in some direction, a new direction at that age?
Well, what I do remember from that age was, for me, a big life event. I knew, I have to go back a little bit. Okay. I've just broken up. Well, actually, the partner that I was at that moment had broken up with me, but that was like the first like big love of my life. And I just found out that he hid from me that he had a very severe cocaine addiction. So it was not only the breakup of a relationship, it was also finding out that he lied about that. And then also on top of that, there was apparently another girl. So like there was a lot of things happening, and that had a big ripple effect in the years after that. Yeah, it's quite strange to look back on it, because from that moment on, I got more into parties and going to festivals again. It was like I was going into like an opposite force, like trying not to fall into it too deep, because the sadness, it took me at least 2-3 years to get over that. So if I look back, I think my Saturn return had a big impact on my house of relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love asking that question to see what happens. Always something that happens around those ages that, change direction, isn't it? Yeah. And if we go back to the femininity with the caring, the nurturing, the flowing, the creative, can you, how does that play out in your everyday environment now, and in your personality, and in the activities that you choose to do?
Well, one example that I'm feeling for the moment is I used to do a lot of exercise, but like too much. I didn't know how to balance that out. And it's been for years that I want to get my exercise a bit more up, but I'm either forcing it too much or not doing anything. And now I'm really tapping into, okay, from a feminine perspective, like how can I engage actually with a masculine energy, you could say, because it's an activity from a very feminine standpoint.
Yeah.
And so I tapped into is like, okay, slow progress. I'm like, okay, how does slow progress look like? It's like, okay, where are you at right now? A month, 2 months ago, I wasn't moving a lot. I was very much into hermit mode. So I was like, okay, start with walking every day. You're in the mood for a 10-minute walk? Okay. Are you in the mood for a half an hour? But feel each day how your energy level is and start from there. And since then, I've been actually very consistent with moving every day, but not with the mindset, okay, I need to do like 10 push-ups and I need to go running and da da da. So I feel my feminine energy is leading the way now for my masculine derived goals or intentions, you could say.
Yeah.
And it feels very nice because I used to be in a competition with myself because I had this goal of being like very fit and like very much like running every day and swimming every day, but it wasn't attainable. It really wasn't. I wanted to be from one day to the other day, like wanting to be there.
Yeah.
And now I feel, no, if you want to have it on the long term, do it gradually, do it slow.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling that it's like one simple example, but it infuses a lot of my activities during the day. Also, slow mornings every day.
Yeah.
This is also something that I didn't used to do. I was someone like, okay, I get up, I go to work, I grab a coffee, a croissant, I go to the class, and I was just on for the whole day. And now I'm just letting the organic flow of the day show me what I can do in one day. And I'm very grateful that I have the space and time to completely set up my day like I want to. And to have also trust in myself that the things that need to happen will happen in the time that I have energy or inspiration, or yeah, because I tried to do like the consistent thing of sitting every day at my table and painting or drawing, and I felt that wasn't really working for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about your personality? What would be the feminine qualities of your personality?
I think definitely my creativity that flows through also in my creative thinking, and my creative expressions also through the voice and sharing ideas. I think that especially. Could you maybe define the question a bit more? I'm feeling into what do you see as personality traits?
Like, do you think you're nurturing? So nurturing is a feminine quality. Do you think you're cooperative? Does that come through? Do you think you have an openness to you, a warmth, caring, supportive? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm. Yeah, it's funny. This weekend they said something that I haven't heard in a while, because yeah, I was gone for a long while in Thailand for 2 years, and they said, yeah, you're Mama Lisa of the gang, and they used to always say that to me as well, like I'm the mother type in the friendships.
Okay.
Always. When there's a group together, I'm the one that wants to prepare the food, make sure that everyone's comfortable, make sure that they have a bed to sleep in, like those type of things. And I'm very alert also when I notice that people are not feeling well, to just like check in with them, like, are you okay? Do you need a hug? Do you want to talk? Do you don't want to talk? Do you want to be alone? And I do feel that now it comes maybe across a bit more softer, because I used to be sometimes like maybe over caring and wanted to give advice without that it's being asked. And I know this is a trait of a projector, like they see people and sometimes they know the advice already, but not always everyone wants to hear that in the moment. Sometimes they just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So I'm being much more mindful about these things right now, to just first check in. Are they okay? Do they want to have a talk? Do they want to have advice? If not, also perfectly fine. And not taking it personal. That's also a big thing that that I've learned.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Great. And if we use those words again, so of femininity, caring, nurturing, openness, creative, intuitive, flowing, gentle, how would you describe how you see your mum's femininity as you grew up?
As very passionate. She was also making sure that everyone was always taken care of, like that the basic needs were met.
Okay.
But yeah, of course, there were many moments that I felt a bit alone because there was so many things going on, and I didn't want to bother my mother a lot with what was going on with me. That only came at a later stage in life. Yeah, I did share like many reflections because she said like that I was from a very young age already very like asking questions about life and why the things are as they are. And she did say that for her, those were big catalysts into changing her life. Because if a kid reflects to her, like, why is my father my father? Why did you choose him? And she was quite receptive to that. So in that sense, I feel she was in touch with her feminine side. And often it got like a bit prickled from the outside world, like from her own daughter. But that is also something that I only reflected on later. In the moment, of course, as a child, you're not very aware that that is something that is related to feminine wisdom. But it's only now that I see like, okay, those are those little moments from woman to woman, even though I was a little child, that showed the wisdom that my mother also had, but not always knew how she needed to translate that in reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then how do you think her femininity shaped yours as you grew up?
I think there are some key pillars. For example, the love for food and the nurturing aspect of food is definitely something that she really wanted to give with me, how important it is to nurture your body. And in that aspect, she like gave me some tips, like at certain times of the month to like drink more tea with like spices to warm the body up if it's necessary to feel better. So in that aspect, she looked into herbs, into food, and from that side.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think if she was that aware of that this was specifically good, only good for us as women, because she gave this advice to men and women. But I do correlate this knowledge with like this feminine presence of tuning in into the body and knowing what to do or give in a natural way through herbs, through food. Yeah, so I definitely got that from her. And putting in passion into the things that I believe in. That is definitely something, yeah, she couldn't be passionate about something that she didn't like 102% believed in.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. What a great attitude.
Yeah. So I feel this is also something with me. If I feel something is off about a project, a collaboration, a product, anything, I cannot engage with it. I cannot get passionate about it. But when I do strongly believe in something, I put all of me in it.
Yeah.
It's like also with the videos right now.
Yeah, you mentioned that you wrote something like that before. Okay, I see the connection now. Yeah.
I think it's a bit like from her I learned, when you're passionate about something, commit to it and put yourself into it. Like, don't go out and think you need to do something like someone else, that just put you into it. Yeah.
And is she still like this at her age? Like, how old is she now?
71.
Oh, wow. Is she still like that?
She is still like that. She bought with her partner a year and a half ago a piece of land, and she's now for the very first time in her life like growing her own vegetables. That was a dream of her for a very long time, and now
Wow.
she's doing it. Yeah,
That is
it's really amazing.
that's such a good role model to have, as especially as your parents get older, and to still have that energy like that just will help you so much as you mature as well along the path, along your journey.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really an example, like how she went from, she had an organic shop in the 80s. She started with that, and like that thing just transpired through all of her life, like also doing cooking classes about medicinal foods. And then finally now winding up in having her own land with vegetables. It's like, it's beautiful to see how there are many chapters in one lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
but that there is like some sort of golden thread that goes through her life.
Yeah.
So I reflect many times on that, like what is the golden thread for me? And am I giving myself the support and the space to really give that the nurturing that it deserves? Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, with my art. And yeah, I feel she has a big influence in that, in
Yeah.
how can I give my passions in life what they need to bloom and flourish.
Yeah. Amazing. You're very lucky, very blessed. And now I want to go over to your father. So, how do you think your relationship with your father affected your attitude towards men?
Do you have a couple of days? I'm going to try to summarize it. In short, my father was someone who was verbally very aggressive, like very putting people down, uh, diminishing them to like, you're not worthy of anything. He called me many times ugly, fat, I will never get somewhere, da da da. Yeah. And I'm now using even nice words because, yeah, don't want to repeat the exact words, but it was not easy to live around.
Mm,
And but he did the same to my brothers and also to my mother.
mm,
And he was also physically abusive, and he attacked my mother multiple times where I was just standing next to them. And yeah, that's just a pain that never will go away.
mm. I'm so sorry. Mm,
Yeah. So I think that I was attracted many times by men who were these two types of men. Either they were also very abusive, or it was the total opposite of like having a very neat guy, like having all his ducks in a row, like very polite, came from a good family,
mm-hmm.
but I wasn't in love. So it was like the polar extremes of it.
Mm,
And I think it was after I was 28, after this one experience, breaking up with someone who was so severely addicted. I have to say that relationships afterwards were much more men who were in tune with who I also was as a woman. So I could see like a pivotal moment from there on. Like they weren't abusive. They weren't also this neat guy that fit into perfect society. No, they were like a bit like me, a bit quirky, and a bit like having their own opinions about things. So I could see like a transition from there on.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, it definitely influenced my level of trust, especially when it came down to a correlation of my partner towards other women. Like jealousy is a big thing for me. And I think one of the reasons is because my dad always talked about his previous wife as someone that he put on a pedestal because she was so beautiful, she was so skinny, she was blonde, blue eyes, like, and my mother and me were completely the opposite of that. And I always felt that this is one of the reasons that my father was like a bit disappointed. And my mother was a bit like Mother Teresa. Like they met while he was very drunk, and my mother took care of him. So this is how the relationship already started with them. And as I see in other relationships, this is also often what happened. Like I met someone in a situation that was not completely okay, but I wanted to take care of them. And so this dynamic kept on going until I really stepped into my healing process at 25 after I had my first breakdown. And I think I had from my 25th until my 35, like really consistently, like really engaging with the healing process. And I feel the last 3 years, it's been different. I've been feeling the healing work much more now with connecting with sisterhood, with going into nature much more. It's like a different feeling right now in how I connect with my healing work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also towards men. I feel I'm really good now at expressing my needs, at expressing my boundaries, and designing a life that fits for me, instead of manipulating myself to fit in with the other one.
Yeah.
What I feel my mother kind of did towards my father. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you still have a relationship with your father now?
No. No. The last time I saw him, 12 years ago. And before that also, we separated when I was 18.
Okay.
Then my brother tried to reconcile us, but it didn't work out. And since then, no, I haven't seen him since then anymore. Yeah. And I'm not the only one. Like there's another brother that I have that he doesn't see as well. And there are other family members as well. Like he's really pushing everyone aside that even shows a bit of real emotion towards him. Like he can't handle when people say to him like, look, this hurts me, this is not okay to me, because this was the thing that caused him to say, I don't want you in my life anymore. The moment that I said to him like, this needs to stop, the blaming, the name calling, I cannot handle it anymore. And for him that was like, okay, that closes the door. Yeah, it's pretty painful.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm sending you a big hug.
Thank you. But you know, even though of course it's still like a wound, but I've attended with it with so much love over the past few years that I can talk about it and still feel the emotion, but still at the same time, like I can hold it. It's not like for me diving into an abyss or in a void like many, many years ago.
Yeah. And that's a good attitude, approach to come to it, you know, to hold it in love and to send forgiveness to your father, you know, for not playing that role of protector, you know, and showing up as the title of father. Yeah. And you just have to keep working on it and move forward with it into your life. But yeah, so that's a beautiful conscious action to take.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, you only have two choices. Either you do the healing work or you stay where you are.
And you spiral down and you'll spiral down. Yeah.
And I didn't want to, because I saw that one of my brothers, the spiraling down, like really spiraling down. And I was like, no, that's not the road that I want to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, our parents. Wow.
Yeah. I always say, if there is a God, he put all the love into my mother, and they forgot about my father. Yeah.
Well, and also, have you looked into their parents? Like, are they repeating patterns from their parents?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's I've done some like ancestral, like, how do you say it, investigation, and what I've seen is that there's a lot of abandonment. There's also, if I look at my mother's side, a lot of child loss, like either through miscarriages or being deadborns.
Oh.
Yeah, my mother lost a triplet of girls before me.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So, and when I talked about this with her, she said, like, yeah, but we have a history with the women of our lineage of losing babies. Yeah, so there's something especially there. And if I look at my grandmother, who is like totally different from my mother, she never talked. It was like she was mute. And when I talked about this with my mother, she said that the moment that she married my grandfather, so her father, who was the mayor of a town here in Belgium, she completely stopped with talking. And yeah, she said that she thinks that it's because she did a certain job that she loved doing. But in those days when women married the mayor of a town, they needed to stop doing that job, and she needed to stay at home. And my mother always says that that was the moment for my grandmother that she stopped living, that she just shut down and froze completely. Yeah. So those are one of those moments that I remember, like, okay. And from my father's side, I knew they projected a lot of expectations to them. Like, they wanted him to become a teacher, and he really didn't want to do that. And he always had the feeling that he was less. And my mother always said, like, she met his parents, that the mother was very loving. But of course, I think nobody knows the complete story always. You don't know what happens behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And I think this is also one of the things that my father had a hard time with me, because his mother was quite religious, not in a strict way. But at a certain point, I wanted to go study, and I wanted to study religion and arts. And he couldn't cope with that, and being a teacher. So I was, I think, symbolizing a lot of things of his mother. And probably from a young age, seeing a lot of her in me.
Yeah.
This is a bit like the assumption that I'm making, that it made it hard for me, for him to really love me, I think, because there was so much unresolved problems between him and his mother, that yeah, he projected it into his own relationship with his daughter. Yeah.
Wow.
Connected, huh?
Yeah, but at least you can go back and you've been conscious and you can see the family patterns. I think that's like I like that step. I think that's very healthy, and to understand more about you and your family and where you come from, so you can like move more into the light. Yeah.
It's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And one last question, and it's a lighter question than all the other questions.
But I love it. It's beautiful.
So when we dive deep in with the divine feminine, that's what attracts the masculine to come in. So what do you want to attract with all the work you're doing with the feminine? And that could be like, the masculine can also be like the tangible success in the world. But what do you want to attract in the world right now?
For the moment, a creative space to do
Mhm.
my work,
Yeah.
because I want to birth this oracle card deck that I'm working on.
Mhm.
And I've had a very good, beautiful flow when I was at the house of Andra, the other sister that is also doing the 28 days challenge. Yeah, it's beautiful because actually we have never met in real life, but we know each other through dream weaving.
Yeah.
And yeah, she needed someone to take care of her cat in Scotland. I was like, okay, I'm coming. And so I had the complete place for myself, and I had the most creative flow that I've had in years. I had the
Wow.
place to myself. I could display my work. And there I really noticed, like, Lisa, you need a proper space to create. So this is like my main thing that I want to manifest for the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, from that space, I would love to also invite other people to come create and to support them in their creative processes. So there are a couple of things like intentions. I don't want to see them as goals because I know somewhere along the way things can change.
Yeah.
But that's one of the main important things is space, physical space, and in that way also emotional, mental, creative space that is happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Yay.
Yeah. And you know, putting it out there again into the ethers also helps, like talking about it, magic happens.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, wow. Amazing. Well, they were all my questions. I can't thank you enough for being so open and sharing with you. You sharing with me. I thoroughly loved every minute learning about who you are, where you've come from, your journey.
Mm.
It's amazing.
Thank you. It's also because of you create the sacred space to be able to open up and to be vulnerable. So I want to thank you for sharing some things that has been a while for me to share. And everything happens for a reason, that it needed to happen today. So yeah, very grateful that I could share these moments in my life with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And now
Thank
you'll
you.
be able to really reflect on process these whatever's going to come up with for you, because you're also in your luteal phase and you're going to move into your menstrual phase. So you might start channeling some messages or some insights from this call, from these questions, from your past, to help you dive a bit deeper.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm actually excited for the menstrual phase to start, especially now engaging with the challenge. It's like it does bring so much more awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. It has some magic that happens.
Yeah, it does. It does. Just the words in the forecast, like luteal in waxing moon, just that in itself every day, and that's where you are at the moment. It just focuses you in every day, and everything's there. It just needs to be expressed and observed and focused on, and yeah.
Yeah, the Alexa app is something else. I was like really amazed on how accurate some days were, like really scary accurate. Like, oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. Because in the beginning I was like, how good can this be? But I was like, from day one, like, okay, this is like very good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see what forecast you keep attracting, because then you'll be in your inner spring like in no time, and then you'll be in a summer. Like it just goes so quick. It's so quick.
Too quick sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Uh,